We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go the deep.
Yeah.
I'm your host of a cameo, aka Queen Dave, and I'm joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, aka Ray Train, and Charity, aka Blazy Gardner, aka Cappy Barnia, aka Blaze Train, aka Blaze Noir, aka Sister Blaze. How about that?
Sherlander.
No. And we're here to talk about The Boys, a series we have not ever discussed on our podcast, aside from the occasional mention that we watch it. But we're here to talk about season 4's first 4 episodes. And those episodes are Department of Dirty Tricks, Life Among the Septics, We'll Keep the Red Flag Flying Here, talk about tongue twisters, and finally, Wisdom of the Ages. Why did we do this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, The Boys dropped the first 3 episodes last week. They drop on 3 a.m. Eastern U.S. time on Thursday morning. And they just dropped again the 4th episode early this morning. We had the bright idea to stay on top of our episode releases so that we can not fall behind and not release the next episode when the following episode just finally pops up. I'm kind of glad that we're jumping into the 4th season, though, first of all, because a lot of the lore has been established. We know who the players are. We kind of have a good understanding of them. But now season 4 feels like, as we all kind of thought before we jumped onto the recording, individually character driven for a series that is trying to pull apart society. We said this before the show, and I find it a challenge, but also one I'm happy to take on. Part of the reason why the season may not be as well received as the previous ones is because it's tapping into the societal divide that we are currently undergoing in U.S. politics. Let's just say.
That's what I was going to say. This show is not creating the divide and ripping apart the American fabric. We're already doing that. It is holding up a mirror and saying, "This is what you idiots look like right here. This is what you dummies look like."
It's doing the South Park thing.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. The difference that South Park
here's why
did,
I'm wrong.
Okay. No, you're only half wrong, because what South Park did was show how stupid everybody is. It's not shown a light on the Starlighters as much until maybe even now, but even then, it's just Starlight that's getting the burn, not really her followers. So the creators of South Park were libertarians, and they saw both sides as being, remember the turd sandwich and, well, was this Mr. Garrison, basically? Obviously, Clinton was the turd sandwich, but what did they call Mr. Garrison? I forgot. But you get the idea. He was lambasting both sides. I don't know who I was talking to when we discussed it. I think it was Francisco in the chat, in Discord. We were talking about why that might be, and we landed on maybe, just like some people have superhero fatigue. I think when it comes to this culture war divide situation, I think people are a little tired of it. So that could be part of it. It's undeniable. It is what it is, regardless of any opinions. We have always steered away from politics on purpose. And if we do, we're very thoughtful about it because we like to build bridges. That's really what it is. We don't want to talk past each other. We want to appreciate each other's point of view, take value from each other's point of view. And this show is not interested in any of that. It's like the exact, it's the bizarre world Squawking Dead in a weird way. But it does make some points. It does touch on some very interesting commentary when it comes to Firecracker mentioned something to Sage. Like, Sage says, what are you trying to sell? She's trying to evade the question, trying to cover up what she's really trying to do. But really, she's saying, I'm selling purpose, because who doesn't want to be the hero of their own story? Essentially is what it boils down to, which is an odd, reflective moment within all the chaos. It's like she got it, and she's like, I know what people need.
Everybody in here is trying to be the hero of their own story. Butcher, he's trying to save Ryan from Homelander. Starlight is trying to crush Vought and save the people who are turned into soups or whatever, you know. Kamiko is trying to save the person from Shining Light. Huey's trying to save his dad. Mother's Milk is trying to save his daughter. Victoria Newman is trying to protect her daughter. So everybody is trying to be the hero of their own story except Frenchie, because there's no way Frenchie can be a hero in that story with Colin. He murdered Colin's family. There's no way he can make up for that.
And at least as of episode 4, that scenario reaches its natural conclusion.
A-Train is being turned because he's tired of doing the wrong thing and he wants to be the real hero. He doesn't want to be a fake hero where they stage his movie and stage all of his rescues. He wants to be the real hero. That's why he keeps doing the things that he's doing.
Yeah, and I feel like that comes to a head in the first episode when Homelander basically says, because he's tired of being surrounded by yes men sycophants, he says, deep below A-Train. I want to say something now because who knows when I'm going to say it. As the episodes progress, I'm starting to see an interesting narrative that I hope comes to fruition in a weird way, because it's twisted, and of course it's the boys, and it makes perfect sense. Wouldn't it be poetic in a weird way, A-Train being the first soup you see, sort of, I think if I remember right, setting the whole dominoes crashing by killing Huey's girlfriend? What if he ends up being the actual hero of this story?
I can see that. Here's what I think ultimately is going to happen is Ryan is going to end up having to take out Homelander. That's what I see as the end game. But I think A-Train is definitely the one that's turning first. And I think a lot of that had to do when his brother at the riot, was it like a community center or something like that? Yeah.
Right. From what's his name? Blue Hawk?
Blue Hawk, right.
Yeah.
Blue Hawk rally.
And you saw how disgusted he was when they tried to blindside him in the movie, you know, with the white coach and all that stuff. And I feel like 4 or 5 years ago, A-Train would have been totally down with it. He wouldn't have been like, whatever, that's fine, I don't care. But now his brother's been hurt. He's losing faith in what's going on. I guess he sees a way out with Starlight. If Starlight can stand up, then maybe I can stand up too. You just said everybody's tired of the political back and forth and all that. Well, he's tired of having to constantly wear a face and constantly kowtow to Homelander.
That's so funny. And then Kimiko's face actually comes up.
Oh, that was so gross. I love their reactions. They were like, oh, that's so gross.
Frenchie's face was the best through that whole thing.
Oh, like, how about Zoe and her little face worms? Like, that was crazy.
Between Zoe's reveal and her nigh invulnerability and Vicky Newman's complete invulnerability, as far as we know, that's real eye-opening how far she's willing to go.
The scene with her and Huey. It was so funny because she didn't pop his head or anything after he threw acid on her. Like, she's just like, man, I gotta be on TV in 10 minutes, you jerk. Like,
you ruined my blazer.
It was so funny. It's laugh out loud funny in parts where it's just blatant in your face humor. But the subtle little bits of humor are what makes it so great. The little, like you said, Frenchie's face when Kimiko's face was off. And her little baby arm. Her little baby arm coming out.
Right.
I feel like that's a Deadpool nod, though, at the same time. When Deadpool had the little legs. Anyway.
You've watched Gen V, right?
Yeah.
What do you think Victoria's endgame is with the virus? Do you think she wants it so she can keep complete power and take out Homelander? Or do you think she wants to take out all of the other soups?
Here's the thing. I actually don't really know what she wants. Although, I will say, her conversation with Huey can easily be lost based on Huey's face and what he's thinking about doing. You're more focused on his face and movements than you are in her actually saying what she's trying to say. So what is the kernel of Vicky Newman? I think she just wanted to be accepted. She did horrible things, not on purpose. She just wanted to live in the world in private. I don't really know what her endgame is. I think she wants acceptance. How that plays out in what she's trying to do, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either. But Rachel, in Gen V, there is a virus that can kill soups, and it's pretty gruesome. Right. Well, it did kill some. It killed some in
the low-level
testing. Right. But it's not strong enough to kill Homelander yet. So now Victoria Newman has that. She got it in the last episode, and now she has that virus. In the 4th episode, they had a little blurb about Sam and Kate, who are also from Gen V, Rachel.
It's in a commercial. Hold on a second. They mentioned the Godolkin 4, and they say, because it's a nice callback to the first episode, and they disappeared in a dark, gaping hole, and then he switches the channel, whoever's just watching the TV. It's a callback to Butcher's Butthole, essentially.
That makes me think of Fallout. He showed me his butthole.
Well, let's get this out of the way. Speaking of Fallout, which, by the way, I'm still it's probably like a drug addiction. You get the Fallout shakes. Because after 2 months of covering the show and also still having to release it, I have it in my head. And lo and behold, I didn't realize it until just now that MM's wife, Monique, she's Barb Howard.
Oh, is she?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's where she went. She's not worried about vaults anymore. She's dealing with soups.
It's not vaults anymore. It's Vought.
Right.
Vought tech.
It's Vought 4.
Vought tech.
Anyway, what we were going through was how each character either still does or is over the fact that they'll never be the hero of their own story. So you were saying Frenchie will never see himself as the hero of his own story, but I was thinking actually Butcher
Well, what
might
I'm saying
also
is
feel
they're
that way.
trying to be. I didn't say they saw themselves as the hero. I said they're trying to be the hero. And I also meant to mention Homelander, who it may be most important to him to be the hero because that's what he was created to be. And he's trying so hard to be the hero. But A, he's getting old, right? We saw the gray hairs. B, he has a son now. As we saw, he even sees his son as competition, insinuating himself in the rescue video and all that. For Homelander, being the hero and being loved is the thing. As much as he tries to fight it and he doesn't want that, he thinks innately that is what he wants, which isn't that kind of what everybody wants deep down? You want to be part of something. And he wants to be part of something, but he can never be part of something because he puts himself above everybody else.
He knows that people are just pandering to him and none of it's real.
Well, at least this episode, he's starting to feel the effects of people pandering to him.
It's been building up for a while. He knows people are afraid of him. They don't love him. They don't like him.
I think deep down, he does want somebody to stand up.
Well, that's why he likes Sister Sage.
He does, which is why he brings Sage on. Even then, you see his ego come out and he's like, but he hasn't killed her yet. So
he wants to be loved, but I feel like he knows that he'll never really be loved because people are only always ever going to be afraid of him. Ever. Nobody's ever, even his own son is afraid of him. Even if he found a woman, how would we ever know it was real love? First of all, does Homelander even know what love is, really?
Where you can really spot it is when he shows up. It's not even just that. He's confused. And what does Homelander do? Push him, push him, push him, push him. He's under his breath.
I don't think Ryan's any more afraid of him than any of us were of our parents.
I think this was in the first episode. Ryan was like, I don't want Butcher to die. Homelander had this look on his face. Ryan just has this look like he is totally terrified to say anything because he's afraid Homelander's going to laser him. And he sees everybody else be afraid of him, too. He's watched Homelander kill people. He watched Homelander laser that dude's head right in front of him.
That was how we left off the third season, yeah.
I think he's afraid of Homelander the way we were all afraid of our parents growing up. He looks at him like, this is my dad, and he's yelling at me and like, ugh. But I don't see like, oh God, he's going to kill me terror.
There's a lot of mirroring going on, and it's just all over the place. You got MM is having problems with Janine, his daughter. Because she's acting out because Monique kicked Derek, who apparently has big dick energy.
Todd?
Out of the house. Todd, whatever.
Todd, Derek,
name
whatever.
That doesn't really matter.
It does,
as long as it sounds super white, Eric Kripke. Point being, she really liked her dad. And say what you will, like, we all have family members that believe certain things, no matter what they are. It doesn't have to be that black and white sort of Republican Democrat. Sometimes people believe crazy things. And just because they believe those things doesn't mean they're bad people. And so, essentially, she loved her stepdad. They got to do things together. They got into certain hobbies together. It didn't have to always be about home team. But he's gone. The Hobbled Seven set him up to be sort of scapegoat for...
I think we're all supposed to be Black Noir. Dude, that was so effed up.
What's my motivation? Yeah. And that was the first words he spoke,
and, I mean,
right?
I remember watching it the first time, and first of all, he showed up, and I was like, wait a minute, Homelander killed him in the last season. What's up with that? And then he's just sitting there, you know, and he's also the first one to whack the dude with the bat. Then he talks, and I was like, what is this?
And he's thinking the same thing.
I think we're all supposed to be Black Noir, like watching this, like, what is going on? He even says, he's like, I'm down with it. I just want to know what my motivation is.
I just love how Black Noir and Sister Sage are us. We're the omniscient audience trying to guide what's supposed to be happening, but also what is happening. So it's about fathers and children and legacies. You do everything that you do for your children, maybe, but let's dial back the maybe. Janine and MM and Monique. And you've got, obviously, Homelander and Ryan. Then you have Huey and Hugh, his dad.
Simon Pegg.
Huey and Huey Jr. And that whole drama. And then by the end of episode 4, Compound V, it seems like that saves him. But I think we not really sure if that does, but it seems like it's happening. And it seems like his mom, because she was a Vought vitality specialist saved him with Compound V,
I
essentially?
wonder if she is there to spy on Huey. She works for Vought. This is a very convenient. I'm not even totally
timeline
convinced
fits.
that they didn't cause his dad to have a stroke just so they could bring her in. She works for Vitality, which is like vitamins. Remember when she first came in and she was taking all the stuff out, right?
All the
So she works for
crap.
Vitality.
Wasn't Vitality hinted at in Diabolical, actually, if I'm not mistaken? That actual product
might have
line,
been.
if I'm not mistaken, because I'm loosely remembering all these Vought-related products in one of the episodes.
Vought has their finger in everything, though.
Right. Anyway, going back, the timeline fits because it's within, she says, I got into contact with him about a year or two ago. But I actually don't think that it's her that put her husband into the coma stroke.
I'm just saying it would have been super easy for someone to sneak something into his food or a drink. They know Huey's going to show up and take care of his dad. So
I'm not saying it's a theory, but I happen to think it actually might be Vicky Newman.
That put him into a coma?
Right, because her powers are blood related. When Vicky comes onto Gen V, and one of the characters also has a similar power, she can control blood flow. Vicky Newman's power is blood flow based, which is why she's able to explode heads. Blood goes out. Well, she wouldn't have to do much to Huey's dad, in order to induce a stroke. Just one little air bubble. So it's an embolism.
If she was able to control it that much, why wouldn't she just do that instead of exploding heads?
Exploding heads is dramatic, and you want to make a show.
I mean, not always, though. If she's if she's just like taking out competition, you would want that to look natural instead of exploding their heads on TV.
Well, I think the implication really is that when she first discovered her power, was similar to the girl in Gen V, I forget her name, but you don't have too much control over it. And so, why exercise control when you don't have to? But if you can swoop in somehow, or if you could take Huey off the board in terms of trying to get at her and distract the whole team from what she's doing behind the scenes. Because again, what I was saying at the beginning of the show was, what is Vicky's endgame? We kind of glossed past it, but I feel like she still wants Huey's approval. That's why she doesn't explode his head. She still regards him as somebody I think that she cares about. But even more terrifying than that, and which just goes to your point, Charity, what do people want? Approval, love, acceptance. You asked that question earlier, why doesn't he explode his head? That's probably why, but it's even more terrifying than that. Vicky has this weird sense of self-awareness, is probably the right word. Imagine Homelander who was actually well-adjusted. Vicky, she's invulnerable. You find out she was shot at point-blank range.
That was funny, too.
And couldn't be taken down.
That was funny.
It's terrifying. I mean, yes, her response is funny, but I'm looking at the subtext, I'm like, how are you going to beat this lady? But then I keep thinking to myself, okay, she's terrifying. She has a power that could rival Homelander, if not for the fact that she can't take down Homelander. Fine. But kind of like Moldaver on Fallout, I wonder if she's actually the bad guy. What do you guys think about that? What if she actually used her powers for good?
Here's how I feel about this right now. I don't feel like anybody at the moment is a super bad guy. Not even Homelander. He's a bad dude. But you start to get a reasoning and a feeling as to why he is so messed up. He's definitely moving into a gray area. That doesn't give you excuses to slaughter people wholeheartedly, but there is a little bit of understanding there. And he wants to be loved. Saving people gets him love.
He doesn't really care about saving people. He's repeated this multiple times this season at least, is that humans are nothing. They're just toys for our amusement. He says this multiple times to Ryan first, but then he says this out loud to the scientist in episode 4 when he comes back home, quote unquote. His name is John Homelander. That's his name. He's no longer interested in people's acceptance anymore. So what is he interested in? That's what this season I feel like is exploring.
But he is. He's telling himself that he's not interested in people's acceptance anymore. That's why you keep seeing him in the shattered mirror with the other faces. They're like, no, you're not human. You need to get rid of your humanness. But like the lady said, you can't. It's in you. It's innate. You cannot get it out.
Listen, I don't disagree with you that everybody needs or feels the need to have acceptance or approval from their parents or acceptance from a peer group.
Even Sage told him, because when she was like, you want to destroy the world and take power, and she's like, but you realize that's still not going to make you happy. And he's like, So doing this, going down and killing those people and getting revenge, that's not going to make him happy. That's not going to get him the love and respect that he really deeply
Well, I
wants.
feel like she points the finger also to setting up a legacy for Ryan. And she says, that still won't make you happy. And so that to me, because I'm looking at the way he treats Ryan, and it's almost like repeating history in a weird way, or various degrees of trying to be the father that he never had. And then also at the same time repeating learned behavior. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. What's done to me. Just be that thing. They trained the crap out of me.
Do you remember in Diabolical, Homelander's first assignment, he slaughtered a whole bunch of people. He went into the room and he was trying to save them and he ended up lasering them all instead. That's why he gets Ryan, because Ryan killed Coy on accident. And Homelander's like, yeah, dude, I get you, because I did the same thing when I was first coming up. I wasn't 13, but I seem to remember that he was pretty freaked out that he killed all those people because he was trying to save them. It was him and Black Noir. Black Noir was like, dude, don't even worry about it.
Well,
it's
now I know why, though, too, because he was engineered to have feelings. This is why it's so interesting, so fascinating, because the way Barber describes his gruesome birth, lasering out of his mother's stomach, rising up into the air as a baby.
I think that was how Ryan was born in the comics. I think that's what happened to Becca, if I remember correctly. When Homelander was looking for Ryan, that was what they told him had happened, and that Ryan had died right after that. So Homelander was looking for Ryan, and he went to the scientists, and the scientists were like, yeah, Becca had,
in the
she
comics,
was pregnant,
not
but the
in
baby
the show, so
lasered its
nobody's
way out.
confused.
So Ryan has it combined with Homelander's innate desire for love and acceptance, and Becca's nurturing.
Exactly what I was thinking of.
Right, and Becca's nurturing until he was, 10 or 11, might be the saving grace for Ryan, because he was raised somewhat normally, and he did have the love that he needed and craved. He has that with Butcher, too, and I think he's realizing that Butcher does love him and care about him. So he has the love and acceptance that Homelander never had, and that's why he will never turn into Homelander. But if he stays with Homelander and Homelander keeps treating him the way he does,
or not immediately disillusioned,
because you can tell Homelander's disappointed in him, that he's not immediately a superhero.
Okay, this is the question I want to ask you, Rachel, because I feel like you can't jump in, but I want you to jump in. Do you think that, I'm basing this purely on Barbara's reveal about Homelander's birth. She says the greatest weapon that they had against him was the ability to engineer what is normally innate in humans, this love and acceptance and desire for love. They engineered it in him. Well, do you think that he is innately looking for love, or they made it so that he could feel that love and approval?
Everything about Homelander was engineered. He's not a human, so they had to give him emotions. So yeah, everything he's feeling has absolutely been injected into him. It's not because he has emotions. It's because
he's like empty. Oh, okay. That's an interesting take.
Which is why he can't understand what Ryan's feeling right now. He doesn't understand empathy or even guilt. He only understands the emotions that were fed into him. Ryan obviously is feeling a tremendous amount of guilt over what he did. And Homelander's like, what? What? What is this? I don't understand what you're feeling. You did a thing. He died.
I don't understand feelings.
Yeah. And I will say, like, Homelander's a bad guy through and through. He just is. Yes, there's a reason for it. But I love how hard he's trying with Ryan. I will give him A for effort. Because he's like, well, Coy died doing what he loved.
I love that so much. Because he was probably told that himself when he
killed somebody
on set.
He probably heard that. Yeah.
Right.
Repeating things that were told to him when he made a mistake.
Can I dial in on your take? Because it's kind of better than what I was thinking. Because I'm thinking innately malice. Innately, he's just born of evil. That's where my mind is at. And then they humanized him.
Oh, I see.
What if they engineered the son of Satan, Lucifer, whatever?
Yeah.
Damien Morningstar, whatever. But no, I like your take because it sounds to me like rather than coming from like born of sin or born of malice, I feel like your take is more of, well, he's an empty vessel. They poured whatever they could into him.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that because of how cynical society can be and appearances can be, what they want and what they want, the CIA wants out of Ryan, let's say. which is alluded, I think, in the third episode with Kessler.
I mean, it's hinted at in the first one, and then they kind of
brought it back
go
in the
a
third
little
one.
bit harder in the third one, yeah.
Which Butcher picks up on. I noted it in the first episode. They want Kessler wants, it's the mirror image of the Supes. Instead of corporatization, it's the government now we have to be worried about.
The government wants Ryan for their weapon.
But dialing into what your take is very interesting because I hadn't thought of it that way. It's hard to peel away the impression that I have of Homelander, of 3 seasons of Homelander and how awful he can be.
But let me ask you this. What purpose would these scientists have to create an evil being?
No. I agree with you. No, either way, the method is the same. You pour in... Homelander's kryptonite is humanity. The desire for human needs that was engineered in him, right? That's his kryptonite.
He wants that approval. He wants that accepted. But he wants the real thing. Like I said, he's wise now to the fact that people don't really like him. They're just afraid of him.
Right.
But he wants to actually be liked.
The layer cake in all of this, well, is it nature or nurture? And listen, we know that the starting point is actually nature. We know that innately. Nurture can only go so far, but nature is the thing. And so Barbara's tale of how he was born is so informative of who Homelander is really. You can't unring a bell. You can't unsee the broken glass. There's something so terrifying about it.
But also, a newborn baby doesn't have feelings of malice. Like, this baby wasn't born and thought, I'm going to kill all these doctors and nurses.
I agree. That's why I'm warming up to your idea, is what I'm saying. Is that I'm admitting that your take sounds better than mine. I'm admitting a bias right now. And I'm going, your take makes more sense. It allows me to be more reflective. But it also, in a way, kind of comes back. Like, maybe it's an empty vessel. Maybe the absence of feelings, to me, is even more scary.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then what is that?
I agree.
Does he really want the need? Does he really want it? Or was it bred into him? That's kind of what I'm saying. The broken clock is right twice a day. He was actually right about not being human.
I mean, I think both can be true. Yes, these feelings were put into him, but at the same time, I think that still makes it real. They are still real feelings because they're there.
Yeah. Again, going to your point, we're dealing with the cards we're dealt, essentially. Yeah. It's too late now. Can't unring a bell. Right. That's what happened.
Now we're here.
The only thing, this is probably a better question. Charity, you're thinking the same things anyway. He wants his approval. Here we are. It doesn't matter if it's nature or nurture or whatever. Here's the question. It's kind of like what I said about self-awareness. Vicky is Homelander with self-awareness in varying degrees. Let's not get picky. So now that Homelander has a sense of self-awareness, he confronted his past in his own comical, twisted way. But now that he's heard all this, do you think that he's going to try his hardest to not be human? Do you think this changes the way he deals with the world?
Yes. I think he's going to be even worse because he's going to be determined. No, I am not going to let this rule me. I'm going to overcome it and get out of my way.
Homelander is achieving self-awareness, and self-awareness means, they inserted emotions into me and the need for approval and love and acceptance. Yeah, that's going away. So then maybe the more important question is, where does that leave Ryan?
Do you think he can turn that off?
It can't go away. Dave, do you think you could just turn off love for your family?
Well, if it's like the Truman Show, where my mom and dad weren't real.
That's what a sociopath could do.
I love that you just said that, because if you found out your whole life was a lie.
But Homelander's life was not a lie. He knew exactly where he came from the whole time. He's been made to lie about it in public, but he knows where he came from. He knows what he is.
I'm just going to push back gently.
Wait, I thought he did find out in one of these seasons that he was created. That was a big revelation in like season 2 or something.
Right. That's why he hates being called John in the 4th episode.
Right. But what I'm saying is he's known he was created. It's not like they sprung it on him. That's why they had him in a lab testing him. So that's why I'm saying his life isn't a lie. It might be a sham, but I wouldn't call it a lie.
There was a whole huge thing about him freaking out about not being a real person because he was created in a lab, and like that was like a whole thing, like a huge revelation for him that he was lied to.
Well, let's keep going further, because
you honestly might be right. I don't remember.
Let's just say both things can be true. If you keep being fed, you're this, you're that, this is what you're supposed to be, you're meant for more than this. why do you think he hates being called John? And he insists on being called Homelander. Because when you're fed a bunch of lies about who you're supposed to be rather than who you actually are, after a while, the lie becomes the truth. As long as it holds up, the scaffolding that you're trying to build holds up.
But is Homelander the lie?
He doesn't want to be called
truth?
He doesn't want to be called John because he's trying to deny his humanity, which he can't.
Truth.
Well, he can't deny his humanity. Right? He can't deny his humanity. He may have been created, but he still had to have an egg and a sperm. He just wasn't created out of clay and infused into a superhero. He was a real person. I mean, he was a baby that they injected with compound V.
Yeah.
So he has human feelings and stuff, especially ones that he was engineered with. He's not going to be able to get rid of that. He can't. You can't get rid of your humanity no matter how much you try. You can tamp it down, but it's still going to be there. Even the biggest murderers loved somebody. Norman Bates loved his dang mama.
But doesn't this go back to what we said? I don't know if it was after we recorded or before we recorded. What if you had absolute power? You couldn't check yourself. You wouldn't be able to.
That's when we were talking about the ring of power.
Athletes and stuff. Also ring of power, but also celebrity, also fame. Because it's not just because you and your self-control and discipline and mental discipline. It's the world. The world may not let you become a human.
I was referencing athletes and how athletes, ones that make it, the really talented athletes, they're put on a pedestal by the time they're 8 years old and they're in Pop Warner football and they're good. And all through their elementary school, all through junior high, all through high school, all through college, they are allowed to do whatever they want to do because they're athletes and
they're given a pass.
Because sports make money for schools, especially colleges. Look at the TV revenues they get. These kids are given a pass to do pretty much anything, unless it's something that's super serious. But athletes even get away with murder. We've seen it happen.
Why would you?
These people, as somebody like Homelander, who has been raised being told that there's something special and allowed to do whatever he wanted to do. Now, granted, Homelander had it kind of bad because he got burned in ovens and, all the other stuff that happened to him. But he still was raised with the idea that I can do whatever I want. And as he got older and he got more and more popular, that was only reinforced every time he killed somebody, every time something bad happened that he did. It was just reinforced. And that's one of the reasons I love this show is they draw the parallel between today's society. Everything you see on this show is today's society.
Or what we see in society. Yeah. Right. And to be fair, society does amplify its own ills. We love pointing out how bad we are, don't we? We love to say, hey, we suck. Here's an example, because we have negativity bias and all that stuff. But anyway, going back to the point, Barbara indicates that they engineered the desire to be loved, the desire for approval, desire for acceptance among peers and adults, the people that are guardians of him technically, or the people that are kind of guiding him in this world. But there is a tension here because his powers are so great, people cannot help but be afraid of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the additional pressure of being afraid of Vought. There's actual physical threat, the fear of physical threat of this power that isn't controllable. And there's also the power of institutional power, let's say, or the fear of a corrupt entity bearing down on them.
And Vought has their fingers in everything. So who do you trust? You can't trust anybody that's owned by Vought. That's why I'm really suspicious of Huey's mom.
It is weird.
It is weird. It's what a reveal. I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of like the bait and switch. You are like Huey, you abandoned me, and then she tells the story and he's like, well, how can I be mad at you after several episodes, right? And then for her to do that, of course, when I go, I knew it, but then they're going to do the thing where they bait and switch us again. Maybe this guy needs a win. That's just
Huey or Simon Pegg?
Huey. Well, also
Huey.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
He's a defenseless creature, Simon Pegg. I love that guy.
Right?
Yeah.
I was just
Huey's the one we care about, though. I mean, Simon Pegg is Hugh, his father, is we don't have as much of a attachment to.
Fun
Huey's
fact
who brought us into this world.
for anybody who doesn't know this. If you go and look at the comics, Huey looks a whole lot like Simon Pegg. And that's because the character was based on him. And he was actually supposed to play Huey back when they first talked about making it into a TV show. But it took 20 years and he aged out of the part. But yeah, that's why they tagged Simon Pegg to play Huey's dad, because he was technically supposed to be Huey.
Yeah.
I like that. I did not know that.
It's so strange because you're hearing about how this comic was made. It was made during the Bush administration, I think it was, where everybody hated Republicans, more or less. I mean, everybody. And I'm not getting into the political, but you do start to feel like it's unavoidable that in some senses, this divide politically in the show is almost somewhat of an anachronism in a way, because we've gotten even more polarized, but there's bad actors on many sides at this point in our own reality.
There were good people on both sides.
Because there are bad actors on the left.
I totally agree.
As well as the right. I knew you were going to. I knew what you meant. I knew you were feeling that anyway too. But whereas back then there wasn't. Even me, as aware as I was of politics at the time, I didn't see that too much on the left at all. But bringing it back here, it's unavoidable. This is how this story has to be. It's just sad that it's during a time now where the extremism is on. I think that many dynamics right now.
It's actually worked to the show's benefit because the divide is so glaring now. It fits in with the show, because if the show had been made 20 years ago, like you said, you didn't really notice. People were not as into politics 20 years ago. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media. We didn't see it as much. People couldn't get out there and put their opinion out. The only way you could make your opinion known was to put it in the editorial of the newspaper. It's a lot louder than it used to be.
There was no Twitter. There was there was no Twitter yet. It wasn't
right. So we'll say in the Reagan years or whatever, or when they were talking about making this, the divide was there, but most people didn't see it. Nobody was going and reading the editorials looking for the people talking about that kind. You know what I'm saying?
People didn't have a voice. There was
no voice to amplify. People aren't going to be like, oh no, this could never happen. This is just bull. It's obviously what's going on now. Just not home fronters. I do want to say this. Homelander called somebody a libtard. I think he made his position fairly well known. And that's not me, people. That's not me. That was Homelander that said that. Go take it up with him.
You don't have to qualify. We understood the words that came out of your mouth. But I think the only thing that gets a little sketchy, and it is somewhat of an anachronism in a sense, is that how that side of the conversation is eerily similar to the worst extremes of that side. And the other side is completely angelic by comparison. And I say this only because all of us have had the pleasure of being a part of the Walking Dead family. And we have had the luxury of meeting people from all different sides of the political aisle, or the unaffiliated aisle, or the libertarian aisle, or the whatever, basically. And even us on this show, we occupy such a strata ideologically and politically and unaffiliatedly. But our approach has always been, or we try to be, at least welcoming and also building bridges and seeing the value in each other's point of view. That's been the thing. Let me cap this off a little bit by telling you guys a story that I've never told you. And it's been the focal point of my awakening as a human on this earth, to try to be more welcoming and understanding of people. I am still sort of affiliated with a Facebook group called Stone Temple Pilots Everlasting. If you're a fan, you should join, but whatever. You don't have to. I'm not really that much affiliated as much anymore. But in that group, we had a friend, a close-knit friend, back in the early days when we started it. This is at the time when I was kind of emerging Bernie bro or whatever. I'm not that much anymore at all, really. But I had said something to the effect, this is around the early times of Trump, Kellyanne Conway being a see you next Tuesday. And one of the girls I was with got really upset. And I was like, what? She is. And she got even more upset and had to walk away. I'd found out that Kellyanne Conway was her aunt. But what if I said that about any one of your relatives? It wouldn't matter what side of the political aisle you were on. It would hurt your feelings so badly.
But what if she really is,
sitting there being like, what was that?
But what if she really is, though?
But that woke me up a little bit, because I realized, these people
depends
are
on which one
beings.
of my aunts you're talking about.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
If you thought she was, but see, only you get to say that about your aunt. That's the thing, right? But then a good example is what we saw in the 4th episode, the demonstration across the street of Starlight home. Okay. What we saw on the TV for the majority of the episode was this. It seemed like this was this huge extravaganza, but there's this one scene. It lasts for a second or two, where they're showing the traffic from the street. There's nobody there. It's just cars going back and forth. But when you get this impression on the show that this is a big thing, everybody's here, this is a banging event. They could probably show a crowd in the B-roll, and they're saying, oh, everybody's supporting Firecracker, and there's all these people on the stage. That's political life. Political life is you have to put on a certain amount of whatever it is to get that 5 seconds to make your point, and it has to stick with the people. And even if you're going to break people's brains to do it, you're going to get them to remember you. Really, why is it that this season has had people not ratings bomb it, but it hasn't been able to maintain the high ratings that it's had for the last 3 seasons? And I think part of the reason is that in reality and also on the show, we're reaching this weird inflection point where
my personal feeling is people are butthurt and they don't like having a mirror held up to their faces and shown that this is what you look like, this is what you sound like, and they don't like that.
It's something that I alluded to with Francisco in the chat, which was just like superhero fatigue. We have culture war fatigue. We have politics fatigue, in a sense. When I developed this podcast, it changed because it was about something that I liked. It became about talking about something or saying things that we liked about the show rather than things we hated about the show. And then it became, well, why focus on the negative? Let's take in everybody's opinions, even if we don't agree. It was my answer to the culture war problem, essentially, which is, well, let's stop talking about how bad we are or how bad the other person is. And let's just say, what do we appreciate about everybody? It doesn't fit with a show like this. The boys.
Well,
it doesn't. But we are putting a finger on what we don't like about ourselves when we examine these characters too. So,
I mean, this show is fun, but it does have a message. I mean, it is saying something about society. It's fun to watch and the gory and it's gross and it's cringy. But on the whole, it's putting a message out there.
And I'll be honest with you, my brain automatically filters through the painting one side as conspiracy theory, everybody's a pedo sort of situation. It's interesting from the comic booky lens of it all. Like you're taking it as this is so comic booky, I can't even connect with it. The conspiracy con, I just couldn't. It's just sensory overload of so much conspiracy theory. So I just couldn't even process it. So I was like, okay, moving along. People may be like this, but I can't connect with that. Yeah, right. I just can't. There's just too much of it. So, which is actually to its advantage, because if it's this crazy, just like everything on the show, when people on Game of Thrones are just too out there, it's hard for me to think that I could be ever like this. So I don't feel attacked at all. Same with the show. In a sense,
I don't connect with anybody on the show. Like they're just fun
on
to
this
watch.
Show or the other show.
They're just fun to watch.
That's kind of my point. I can appreciate the show because it's so out there that when it starts to get serious, like this season has, I think, more or less been. Do you guys think the same? That this season has gotten a little bit more serious?
I would agree with that.
We're delving deeper into psyches.
And we've already spent 3 seasons with a lot of these characters, so we know a lot of these characters now. And so I think we are able to not relate isn't the right word, but maybe sympathize with them more.
We feel for them. Right. We feel for what they're going through and what they're experiencing.
Kind of like when, to bring Ashley and Ginny into this equation, the focal point being Kobe Menifee, right? After a while, when a bad guy is so bad, but you can see the little ticks and nuances and why they do what they do, you're like, well, I don't want you to go away.
Round of applause for Colby. When we see her shred her resignation letter and the look of absolute trauma on her face.
Can't leave.
I can't leave. Her facial expression says everything in that moment. She can't leave. She is terrified. She has to stay. She says,
and she has absolutely no real power whatsoever. Like she's just a figurehead.
She's a mascot.
Yeah.
She's in court, like you said in Game of Thrones. She's a part of court whether she likes it or not. Yep. Now it's just a means of survival rather than a power grab.
Yep.
She's just trying to float instead of getting pulled into the deep.
And I am worried for her because she knows a lot of stuff. And if Homelander thinks she doesn't have value anymore, what does that mean for Ashley?
I totally wanted her to go pull a vial of V out of the drawer and
Obviously,
take it.
She knows where it is.
I know. I wanted her to take it so bad.
I'm not giving up on that yet.
Ashley, can't you think of something better than dropping a floater in Homelander's toilet?
It's like the only power that she could have at that moment.
What if this flashed through my head? It's a really disgusting thought, but he recognized Huey from the scent of his sweat. Would he not know Ashley's scent?
From the smell of her fecal matter?
From the smell of her.
Look at Rachel. That actually is really smart.
And then I was thinking,
super smart.
I was thinking when A-Train threatened her, well, if Homelander finds out, well, just go up and flush, dude.
Evidence washed. Right. But you're not thinking straight. I think you put a finger on something that is pretty interesting because, yes, you're right. She could have done that, but she didn't want to. She's like, I'm not backing down. This is what I want to do. This is kind of what I was saying to you about, can you tamp down your humanity? Can you get rid of that emotion? I'm not saying yes or no. I read Alfred Camus, just like you did, The Stranger, right? Wasn't it?
I never read The Stranger.
Oh, I didn't read that.
Okay. Well, it's basically about nihilism and existentialism. And essentially, there's a thought process that condemned man will lean into that condemnation. I will be the sin eater. I'm exactly like you think I am. And I am. And so I'm going to lean into that life. This is what worries me. If you're convinced that you are a thing, you'll play the part because that's what people expect of you. That's the thing that worries me about Homelander, is that once he becomes more self-aware, once he acknowledges the truth, once he sees that, oh, these emotions were bred into me, well, now I know that part. So
I thought we were talking about Ashley here.
No, but this does go back to Ashley because she, like you said, shreds the document. I can't leave. There's nothing else for me. So now I might as well hold court and survive at the same time. So why would she flush the floater?
It's like the one little thing she can do.
Yeah, like Frenchie, end me then. End me. That's where the road's leading anyway. Homelander is done with her, pretty much.
She just needs to stay out.
Why don't you leave?
Well, then she needs to stay out of sight. Like, don't poke the red, white, and blue bear.
I just don't see that she has an escape.
Stay hidden. Right? Stay in the background so he doesn't even notice you because he's got other stuff going on right now. He's not worried about what you're doing. He's got other stuff on his plate. He's got gray hairs. He's got gray pubes, and his hair is getting dyed twice as much.
2.5.
And his kid is scared of it.
Times a week.
So if she would just like stay in the background and just be like, oh, yes, I'm here behind the plant. And if you need me, I can just step out. Otherwise, I'm hiding here where you can't see me.
Well, you're forgetting the biggest thing. What is Ashley? Ashley's the very thing you hate the most. Ashley plays the game. That's her thing. That's who she is on a fundamental level.
She's Vought. Vought has corrupted her.
Well, she plays the game. She's good at it too.
Maybe
how do you take that away from somebody?
Vought was like the ring of power, and she grabbed onto it, and now she's just as corrupted as everybody else.
Well, yeah. And she entered into that bargain. I mean, listen, maybe at some point she could have walked away and not become that, but now she's too good at it, right? And so
now she's too deep in it too.
See, I told you. But this kind of goes back to the thing that we said about the wasteland podiatrist, the chicken molester, right? In Fallout, he was about to off himself, and then all of a sudden he had a customer. This is who he is. That's his purpose. That's his raison d'etre. That's Ashley's raison d'etre. How do you tell somebody, even if you're trying to tell yourself as Ashley, I could just go to a liberal arts college or something.
Ashley's raison d'etre is stomping balls, apparently.
And who is she? The dominatrix. But isn't that informative on Ashley's character? She wants to dominate.
Ashley, I know part of it's because I love Colby, right? But Ashley, really, I love her character. The absolute best line of the entire season so far, when the Deep comes up to her and he's like, you can't talk to me like that. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm the peak of humanity and you're just a capybara. And she looks at him. He's like, it's a rodent from South America. She's like, oh, we're effing land animals now.
Right. And that's when things turn
that
for
made
her.
me laugh for 10 minutes straight. Like, I totally missed the next part because I was like laughing at that so
totally
hard.
Missed the Deep threatening her. But this is at the rap party. Well, not the rap party. This is during the rehearsal for Ryan's first save. But even the whole stupid people that think they're smart people make me want to eat my ass.
Dennis was watching that with me. He goes, I totally understand that.
We've all dealt with people who think they're smarter than they really are. You guys deal with me all the time.
I mean, ultimately, he got what he wanted, though. He was there.
Well, you know what's really interesting about that? I didn't notice it until I was taking notes frantically before we got on. Ashley says, girls empowering girls in the elevator. She's saying, don't say that to Homelander. He might kill you. And then what happens? The second later, she says that to the Deep. The Deep may not be Homelander. Look at what he did just using his own influence in Starlight. Horrible. And so what if he actually used his physical prowess on Ashley? So she forgot. She started to lose her grip. So she was not taking her own advice to Sister Sage, her sister. It's ironic. It's like she didn't watch herself.
I also love it when she said, you want to be on a family-friendly save while you're still on PETA's watch list for bestiality.
By the way, how does that dude, the actor, I forget his name now, but
Chase
how does he
Crawford.
hold a straight face
Chase
half
Crawford.
the time?
Hats off to Chase Crawford, too, because he's awesome.
I want to see those bloopers so bad.
I've seen some of them on TikTok. Chase Crawford in an interview made Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander, he just kept trying to get back to reality. He just could not stop laughing.
They recently did an episode on Hot Ones.
I just want to point out that Tony Starr is the coolest dude on the planet. He was super interactive with people on Instagram, and like he was sharing people's photoshops of Homelander, and he's not a Homelander. Like, he's totally cool. Just people out there, don't mistake him for Homelander. He's not. He's actually a really nice person.
Couldn't be further from the truth. I just don't, it's hard sometimes for me to see him as Homelander, actually, because he's so cool.
So many of these characters have had such a progression, and he's been all over the place, and I hate how much they are trying to make him a sympathetic character. I want to say I get it, and like, he's not so bad anymore, but like, the actor's amazing.
So you think that the show is making him more sympathetic?
I don't think so.
Yes.
I don't think so. I think they're making him more of a jerk.
They're turning him into a joke.
True. That's true. So wait, you feel sympathetic?
That's what's making me feel bad for him, because he's like the joke of the group.
Right.
They're not even taking him seriously anymore.
But they never have. They've never taken him seriously.
But now he's starting to feel it.
That's it.
And that's what I'm like,
but that's this season,
I don't want to feel bad for you. Stop it. Stop making me feel bad for you.
Well, how do you think I feel about Homelander?
And he's like talking to his octopus girlfriend, and I'm like, just stop it already.
Ambrosius, who's actually voiced by
Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton, thank you.
What? That's Tilda?
They brought her on for those episodes.
She's
oh my God.
Which, by the way, let's touch on this for a hot sec. This whole thing with Sage and he.
They were not in his room.
It was
the first time they hooked up, right?
They're in Sage's room.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, poor octopus. Oh no.
Poor Ambrose. She has a name.
I love that she gives herself lobotomies to be stupid for a while.
Ambrosia? No.
That is crazy.
I was sus about that, by the way, because when you see
it, you see it in the first scene.
Right.
And you're like, what the hell?
I'm
like, huh?
Until we saw episode 4 today, my brain was like, oh, she's so smart. She set the dominoes in motion. And then she cut herself off so she couldn't give him any good advice after that because she's so smart.
Oh, no. I'm like, who'd she kill?
Oh, no. I knew what that was. I knew that she had given herself a lobotomy.
I didn't see the entirety of the tool. I only saw the bloody tip. And I'm like, what?
Why do you say things like that? Because I'm thinking, that's what she said. Ew, bloody tip.
Yeah, all I saw was the bloody end.
I got it. Yeah, the instrument.
See the whole tool. Yeah, I didn't see the whole
tool. Doesn't make it
tool.
better.
I love that she keeps correcting everybody. And they're like, you're the smartest woman. She's like, smartest person.
And what does Huey say? He actually says it right. The smartest person in the world. I caught that before we got on. I'm like, oh, Huey's got it. Smart as a whip, too. He says it like really fast.
This show is the kind of show that you really have to watch a couple of times to get all the layers, because there's just so many layers of stuff going on. I think it's one of the best shows on TV. If you took out the extreme violence and you showed it to regular people, they would probably love it. It's engaging, it's funny, if they tone down the violence and the sex. Don't, because I love that, but mainstream audiences would like it more if it wasn't so over the top.
Yeah, but it's a catch-22, right? Because why the show is the way it is that it's confronting. That it's the first thing I said about the series, which almost made me not want to watch it, is that, oh, they're making it really confrontational to the point where I'm revolted by it. But then I hung in there and I'm like, okay, I get it, because that's the show. The show has always been about what we choose to show people and the ugly reality behind that. The soups are all about marketing and stage saves and all that stuff. But the reality is awful, which is why they have to show you the violence and even like
I said, what I'm getting at is this is the kind of show that would be a more mainstream hit with more mainstream people if it wasn't so violent and so sexualized. They're doing the Game of Thrones thing where they draw you in with the sex and violence, and then you're drawn into the story.
The violence is what made me almost turn off the show. Actually, that's what I'm just trying to say.
But even that, to me, it's so over the top and comic booky and cartoonish that I don't really see it as violence. It's not even realistic.
Well, now I see it that way. But that's kind of what I mean, though, is that it has to be that way. There's a duality. On the one hand, it can't be the show that it is because it has to keep challenging your sense of disgust or your sense of morality. But on the other hand, as you get seasons deep, you have to watch yourself, because if you grow too accustomed to it, do you become like the world? Do you become desensitized to it? Maybe. What did we say about The Walking Dead? like a long time ago, but I think we kept bringing it back, was that it was a Milgram experiment in some senses, especially fear. How far can we push your disgust mechanism until you turn it off finally? How long can we keep taking away the people that you love and the heroes that you thought were heroes?
I've watched every single Human Centipede movie. There is no limit for me.
See, you're the villain because you refuse to turn it off.
I have no limit when it comes to
I think the real villain of this show, the villain that has no redemptive qualities, nothing going for them, the real villain is Vought.
I agree.
They're all victims of Vaught's greed and manipulation. Even Homelander, because Vought is what created him.
Well, he's the response. He's the product of that.
So Vought is the bad guy. And what they're saying is corporations are evil. And I semi-agree with that.
I don't disagree. I think you could even take that further, is that the show is trying to depict how institutions, or maybe that hierarchies tilt towards tyranny. And if you let them tilt towards tyranny, they'll consume every good part of you. Unless the brave few stand up and inspire the rest to tilt it back towards the thing that it was meant to do, which is, okay, profit's okay, so long as it's not crony.
Well,
right?
And they own
as long as
everything.
we're not exploiting.
I mean, you've got Vaughtality, Vought TV channel, Vought shoes, Vought clothes,
VNN.
Snacks. I mean, Vought has their fingers, they're everywhere.
They're tendrils, right?
You're right, exactly. Tendrils, that's a good word.
Yeah, if we let them, they'll just, like the Soups.
Again, that's what the whole thing is saying. Well, yeah, but even the Soups don't have absolute power over Vought. Vought is the one with the absolute power.
The irony, right?
Why do you think Huey forgave A-Train?
With all that's going on, kind of like the way Homelander sees his mortality. When you're seeing your father, the plug is almost being pulled. You start to think about your own mortality. I mean, even though you've been surrounded by death, left and right, and violence, seeing your father die puts it on a whole another level. And so you're like, I don't want to leave this world with regret. Life is too hard to hold on to that. I've been holding on to it for a little long. It takes his personal vendetta against the Soups. It becomes less about vengeance and more about, well, no, we need to help people. It's not about me anymore. It's about something bigger. And if he's trying to do right, well, who am I to stop him? I was about to inject my dad with Compound V, the thing that absolute power corrupts absolutely, just to get my father back, which we've seen.
I think a good portion of it was what happened to Annie, too, Starlight, between her and the firecracker, because it really was right after her medical records came out. That was an insane violation of privacy. I think Huey's finally seeing there are real bad guys that we need to be fighting right now, and A-Train's not it. Yes, he did that terrible thing to his girlfriend, but like, he didn't aim for her. Like, he didn't mean to kill his girlfriend.
Anybody who had the ability would have tried to deny it and get out of it, which is, I mean, that's what A-Train did, but he was like, no, I didn't do that.
Right. So I think Huey is seeing a bigger picture here, and he sees that A-Train can be an ally.
Well, A-Train did give them the footage to clear the Starlighters.
Yeah. And the Compound V.
Or the accused.
I mean, he's coming through. And he agreed to meet up with them, too. Like, A-Train's going out of his way to be like, I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
well, I think a lot of that, too, is...
in the third episode.
We just had stuntmen and everything there. None of it... He's not a real hero. And that...
Yeah, soundstage in the Bronx.
That just crushed A-Train. The only people that still respected him that he loved were his nephews, and his brother just crushed that right in front of him. That Huey saw him and didn't come and blast. They did it privately.
Like Starlight was about to.
Right.
Talk about foreshadowing, though, because Starlight was ready to blast A-Train out of the sky, and she actually does it in episode 4 to Firecracker. I don't know about you, but as much as this show paints Soups in a certain light, like that they're all kind of bad in a sense, you would want to think that, and you do, obviously, listen, I still do think of Starlight as the good guy, but with everything that we've gotten revealed, where one, she bullied Firecracker when she was a kid enough to make her feel a certain way, the drugs that Firecracker is taking, that Frenchie finds in her purse.
The metoclopramide.
Yes, exactly. Do you know what that is?
Yeah. It's like a gastrointestinal medication.
Right. For GERD. GERD.
Yeah.
For diabetes patients mostly.
That's another use for it.
Right.
She's Firecracker. What if she's like burning up on the inside and that's why she's taking it?
It could be that. That's true. I was thinking more along the lines of she was in the pageant circuit. Maybe she felt like she had to do things in order to keep the weight down. Because of it, she has a gastrointestinal issue now because of all the time she's made herself throw up, and the acids in her system in her gut aren't that great. I was thinking out loud, like, what could it be that from what we've seen, like that's Kafka's gun, like as Bridget would say.
I'm also not going to paint Starlight as a bad guy because she was a child who bullied another child.
No, because she's us.
That is.
I mean, she even said my mom was pushing me to do this, and I had to be number one.
And we had the luxury of seeing that too.
If you've seen Toddlers and Tiaras, like that is a cutthroat culture.
No, I get it. But here's the thing that really frightens me about this show, because you can't deny the fact that there's a cartoonish nature for the Supes, and we said it already, absolute power, and who's going to stop me, and how do you even keep that power in check? I'm not saying that I think
with
this
other
way,
Supes,
but the fear a little bit that the show is going to pull the wool over our eyes, that's something to be concerned about, because we don't know where this is going to go.
No,
we saw her explode. But see, I'm expressing that I don't want this to happen.
Well, I'm assuming Firecracker's going to die horrifically at some point.
Talk about Splinter.
Oh.
Splinter's the duplicity guy, multiplicity dude that splits himself apart.
Oh my gosh.
And it pleasures himself.
Get your pink eye away from me.
Frenchie's on top of Frenchie. Get your pink eye away.
I knew I recognized him immediately. He played God on Supernatural.
That post showing him post the episode with the crowbar through his head, that post blew up. There's no way nobody could not see that because of the Supernatural crowd. But even I saw it, which is freaking me out.
I loved that they are getting more comfortable with full frontal male nudity. It's always been, no, we can't show men, but we can show women, right? You can show boobs and everything else of a woman, but we couldn't show men. And now that's changing. You know,
I felt that the season premiere of season 3, wasn't it? With the first thing we see is the dill hole. We'll just call it dill hole. I think it's fantastic. And it's done in such a way that it's just so ridiculous, like you said. And it was my first thought, too, as I was thinking of the rebalancing of the scales, because I don't recall seeing too much or any female nudity.
There was Herogasm.
That was kind of equal, because you could see everybody.
Yeah.
That was true equality. Why are we so comfortable with this? Why can't we be comfortable with that? And sure, fine. But it's just funny. It makes it all the better when the Splinters are busting into the Marvelous Mrs. Rachel's bat mitzvah. So doesn't that make it a lot softer? Because it's so beyond appropriate that it's like,
oh my gosh,
it's almost crazy. Appropriate.
Not the prime.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
That was cool. That was interesting.
That's a thing.
If that were the case, why wouldn't the prime stay in the other room?
But plot point, it's also about Firecracker, because he loved Firecracker. He wants to pretend he would die for her. So
yeah, but then the rest of them die too. That's not just
he died trying.
Another notable actor, she plays Barbara, who is the project manager for Homelander. The lady that goes into the room with him. Okay. She played Karen Love on Dharma and Greg. And Nancy Linehan, you were great, and we've seen you in a million shows. So good job being Barbara. And sorry you got locked in there with all the dead people. Surely they report to Vought in some capacity, and surely somebody will go down there and at least find her. Unless
they report to her.
Ooh. Question mark. She is the director.
She's the person they report to.
But
then she's got to have
a higher up, like the Stan Edgar.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with them leaving it there, because then you're forever going, well, I wonder if they got her out of there. I mean, you remember all the security cameras are taken out. They call Phil, whatever the guy from Topside, like, oh, are you there? I'm assuming a lot of bad things about what happened to this entire building, because Homelander made his way down and took an extra long time with his former Guardians. You could see it coming, and it's like you cannot avoid what you know is going to happen to these people. I'm a little offended, though, as a New Yorker. I don't know how many states have a Carvel. That's a Fudgy the Whale cake. And the Fudgy the Whale cake, he even says, it'll melt. It's an ice cream cake. That was no ice cream cake. I am Kripke. I'm coming for you. That was no ice cream cake. I know it's hard to film an ice cream cake on a television show because of all the takes and the day of shooting and all that, and how many ice cream cakes you'd have to purchase, a Fudgy the Whale. But come on, man, you could do better than that.
They made an edible octopus out of tofu, so they could make a ice cream cake out of something that looked like ice cream.
Exactly. When did you stop trying? Fudgy deserve better.
Poor Fudgy.
Anyway, I'm just saying, I don't care about that really.
Fudgy the Whale and the whale from season 2.
Lucy.
There's no reason why it wouldn't be related to that. Sure. Why not?
Even that's where that was eaten, and the cake was eaten out where Lucy was blown
The
up.
guts. Good call. Actually, that's probably why they chose that, actually.
I think the only character we haven't really touched on is
Kimiko and Frenchie.
we even talked about Kimiko
so much
a little bit because we talked about her face. Which
well, the reveal in this episode is really good. That
Kimiko and
she was
Frenchie.
responsible for bringing that
girl,
her sister.
Yeah. I don't
Tala?
think that was her sister.
I don't think it was her sister.
I don't know who it was, but somebody she obviously
Mm-mm.
cared about. Because you see in the second episode where she's tormented over the child slavery situation.
Well, that's because she was taken as a child. Remember, they killed her parents and took her into Shining Light. So they must have turned her into a recruiter, and she would go out and recruit other people. I got the feeling that she just found this girl on the street and was like, "Hey, I'll give you some ice cream," and made friends with her, and then they threw her in the car.
And that's the thing. Like, she was so upset at that, but then you find out it just gets turned on its head, and you find out kind of like what you said about the people that end up working for Vought. They're innocent victims, but we see in the fourth episode, these people were just following orders.
Taking a child and brainwashing her is a lot different than being a grown-up and torturing a little boy. There's a big difference. She was a little kid who was kidnapped and brainwashed into doing what she did. I cannot fault Kimiko for that. Those people were grown
you can't
grown
stop
scientists.
Her from feeling fault.
No, I understand why she feels bad, but what I'm saying is I don't blame her at all because she was just a little kid. We even talked about Homelander. He was just a kid, and they tortured him. Can you imagine being in a oven and crying while the tears sizzled off your cheek because you were in pain and they just watched you? F Homelander. But still, you got to feel something for him.
You feel something, and then it's immediately erased
demolished
in the next scene.
Exactly.
He has no basis on how to control himself because he's never really had to.
I mean, it seems like Barbara has somewhat of control over him. I mean, the way she talks to him is not like anyone else we've heard.
Madeline.
You know, maybe Madeline to a certain degree, but like Barbara has that mom tone. And you can
I brought you into this world. I'll take you out.
Yeah. And he respects her for it.
It's what he's been seeking all along, is a guiding hand, in a sense. On the one hand, tell me I'm doing okay, but also on the other hand, tell me what I should be doing.
These are the conflicting thoughts in his head. Like, yes, he wants all of these things, but when it happens, he's like, oh, no, never mind.
It does still go back to absolute power, right? You can't deny that you have it. This is what sort of scares me about Ryan, because, I mean, look, again, Ryan has grown in a house full of love and attention and rearing, and you can't do this because this and that. Becca gave him boundaries, even though he could do anything that he wanted. But the thing that scares me the most is when he kills Coy in his first save. There's a part of me that goes, of course he's remorseful, of course everything, but what if somebody taps into that absolute power corrupts absolutely so well?
The Homelander tried. He tried to comfort him, and Ryan was just looking at him like, what are you saying? I killed someone today. What are you even saying? I killed someone I liked.
And he thought he was upset about stealing his thunder.
Right.
It's like, oh.
But see, here's the big difference.
That's Anthony Starr all over
There's
there,
the big difference between Homelander and Ryan. Ryan doesn't have an ego at all. And where did Homelanders come from? From him being told constantly that he was the best and he was the savior and he was...
And that you cannot do wrong.
Right. Ryan doesn't have that. Even though Homelander seems to be trying to instill that in him, it's not taking yet.
Right.
Hopefully it won't.
But this is the show's strongest suit, that even in the face of really trying to get you to get disgusted in some senses, they still somehow maintain this tension of so many different strata. The tension between absolute power. They get to show you how sympathetic Homelander's upbringing must have been. Like, oh, the tears ran down my face, but they sizzled away because it was so hot. But then on the other hand, he's like, laser your dick off. But I know this is a different guy, but just that's the tension, is that, oh, I just started feeling bad for him, but then they ruin it in the next episode. So where are you? Bouncing back and forth. But the fact that they can keep you watching and not go like, flip the table and I'm done with watching the show, that's remarkable. I am worried about the season. I don't think it's limited to the politics. Could it be that maybe they're a little bit tired of the tension? Do you think audiences might be not interested in the whole introspectiveness of the season? I happen to like it.
I love what they're doing with it. Like I said, it's got everything. Humor, action. It's a little over the top, but that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, yes, they're superheroes, but that's not really what it's about. When you get down to it, it's not really about superheroes. This is not like Marvel or DC in any way.
I'm not saying it's like Game of Thrones, but it's like you mix the whole ridiculousness of this world and what is it teetering on? What is the foundation of this world? And maybe is that the lesson that we're supposed to learn, is that nobody's in control. It's all about like institutions being its own animal, created from nothing, and it's supported by people on fear. Everybody's afraid to move. Nobody's brave.
Well,
except for Huey, maybe.
I agreed with Sage when she said the reason societies don't last is because people are effing stupid. She's right. Societies rise and fall all the time. It's history. People think America's, we're going to last 1,000 years. We can't even last 300 years and we're already tearing ourselves apart. It's just history. They rise and fall because people are dumb. And that's just humanity. We can't help it.
Well, why democracies fail, basically.
Yeah, we can't help it. We're dumb.
Like true democracies.
No matter how much we try to fight them, we are governed by our most base instincts and emotions. And that's why things happen that happen. That's why we have the division that we have now, because people are running on emotion and not thought.
I think the mistake is also, and we've talked about this, is that what comes first? Always. Who is the elephant and who is the rider? Well, and who's larger and who's smaller? The elephant is the emotion and you're the rider. The logic and reason is the rider. They go hand in hand. In an ideal world, the logic tampons or trains the emotion on how to adapt to certain situations. You need the emotion. It's unavoidable. You have them. They're your motivator. That's the seat on which your logic is riding. So your opinions are, in most senses, informed by bias and emotion, and they're usually emotional responses backed by logic, but ultimately a gut, a feeling. So it doesn't make it any better. It's to your point, really. You can't outrun it, but just like this season, you can become self-aware. And what happens when all these characters become self-aware? What happens when all these characters start telling the truth? Even Starlight, by the way. Why doesn't she tell Homelander about the kernel that Firecracker is after Starlight for? Do you remember when he was pressing her in her own offices? No, I can't think of anything. Give me $50,000. I'll figure it out. But
Butcher.
Yeah, Butcher was pressing Starlight. What was the thing that got her to crank her up? Oh, I meant sorry. Yeah. Well, is that not ironic? Anyway, I'm sorry. I meant Butcher.
Butcher Lander.
Yeah, really. I don't know why she wouldn't have just said, like, I knew her when we were doing pageants and she's holding a grudge.
Well, why didn't she just tell him anyway?
Like it's a minuscule.
Because she's had the same problem. She's been told that she's the good girl for so long that admitting that she did something wrong to other people, that she might not have the love of those people anymore if she told them.
We're talking about, she wasn't on camera.
But it's still the fear. It's still the fear, though.
Well, if you can't even do it in front of the people you love, why would you do it in front of Butcher? They've been butting heads this whole season so far. And yes,
I know, it's just such it's such a dumb thing, though. She didn't kill somebody. I would agree if it were about her blinding these people at the convenience store during her first save. Like, yes, that I could see her being like,
the other thing that makes me scared. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I can't tell people this. But like bullying a fellow pageant person, like that, it's so dumb.
But there you all of it, really, you get the hypocrisy, because Ryan killed somebody on his first save too, and they covered that up. But they're going to go, blow Starlight's spot about blinding someone on accident,
blinding someone.
And again, Homelander killed a bunch of people in his first outing.
Why is Ryan okay and not Homelander?
Right.
Kidding.
Yeah. Because Ryan had a basis in love and affection and a mother who took care of him and raised him to not be a nutcase.
You know what else is interesting about that? It does go to the thing that Butcher really hates, or is trying to figure out why he did what he did. Of course, he did what he did with Homelander and Soldier Boy. That decision is haunting this season. It's the thing that starts every character on the season down this road. He was the guy you were going after for all these seasons, and you let him go. It's why Grace is like, you're off. You're done. It's why he's off the team. It's why he's doubting himself. It's why he thinks he's useless, but also insists on being useful. He's adrift, and he's got a mass in his brain. This is the thing that we would probably need to talk about, is that what is the thing that's in his brain? What saved him from Ezekiel, the preacher, stretchy Armstrong guy?
Oh, clearly he has powers.
Because he took
he told Huey it didn't work, but
it obviously did.
It's when adults take it, if I remember my lore correctly, it can work or it can not work in a very bad way.
Really not work.
So it's a really big chance to take it, which I suppose if you're dying anyway, it's not much of a chance, but it can have really bad reactions.
But isn't it that even if it does work, it produces just chaotic effects?
Well, the temporary V, which is what he and Huey used, is not the same as compound V. It's a different thing. It produces the results where you get powers briefly, but it's also super dangerous. Whereas the compound V, You're supposed to give it when they're little kids, but I think if you give it to them when they're older, it just has sometimes it can work and sometimes it will not work and you'll die or blow up or who knows. But it doesn't always work on adults.
Ironically, as opposed to every other soup or anybody who's a powered person, the thing about them is that they have all the power and it's all about tamping down that power, controlling it, but there's no control. They're all out of control. It's hard to tamp down absolute power, is just the message of the show. But what if the power was in control of you? Who is Butcher? Where is the power? He has no connection to his power.
The tail is wagging the dog.
Which seems to be the case. Right, exactly, right. So that's the irony, is that what does that look like? And that's Butcher right now. He's like just the exact opposite of having a power. It's not a power. The power is manifest. It's its own thing separate from him that he can't seem to have a connection with. He's truly blameless too, which is...
The character we haven't even mentioned yet is Joe Kessler, our good friend, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
We were talking about Starlight and why she wouldn't reveal her thing to Butcher. But it's the same thing. Those two are...
I know, but Frenchie's my favorite. I've been looking forward to talking about this character the entire time we've been recording.
His is most compelling because just like Kimiko, he was brainwashed in a sense to be this thing. He was the dog. He had the leash. Remember that whole analogy?
Exactly.
They go through what he did to the judge's family and all that stuff. Mirror images of each other. They can't seem to tell each other the one thing that they did that they're just too ashamed of to even admit with each other. As thick as thieves they were from the first season. That's interesting. It's just like Starlight not revealing her cards. Well, of all people, Butcher. Let's talk about that. I find his the most compelling. I mean, you got somebody that's so well put together. He's always clean. He's in rehab. And then all of a sudden, he's confronted with his past. Why do you like him the most?
I don't know if I have
and
one
you could feel good about
reason.
It too, by the way.
The accent definitely helped. I think I love him and Kimiko's relationship a lot too. Right from the beginning, he took the time to help her communicate with everybody. He's really the reason she's part of this group. If it weren't for his patience with her, we'd be missing out on that entire character. And I just love their relationship, which is why I was very kind of confused about Enter Colin. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Didn't they have that whole dance montage routine?
Kimiko's your heart. You literally call her mon cœur, which is my heart. How do you, what? Okay. What?
Maybe Sharon can shed some light on this.
I forget exactly what happened, but they did have a discussion at some point where she made it clear that they were never going to be romantically involved. She even made it clear in this season, if you have something with Colin, go get it.
Well, that was after she slammed 4 A-Train beers and was
started drunk signing.
And was like, go F him if you want to. Get your wiener touched. And it didn't seem like she was just like, well, go do it then. It felt like she didn't super mean it.
Wait a minute, but maybe you're onto something, though.
Maybe she feels like she's too damaged. She doesn't remember a lot. Remember when they had to get Mesmer to bring her past back up? She doesn't remember stuff, and she feels like she's too damaged for him, and maybe he feels like he's too damaged for her. And so they're just not...
Which is why they would be perfect for each other.
How I never thought of that until Rachel was like, huh, what?
It was very shocking, because I was like, wait a minute, you and Kimiko, regardless of what was said, I still feel like the emotional connection was there between them.
A relationship doesn't have to be romantic or sex either. They can still be best friends and love each other.
And they absolutely love each other.
We come from the Walking Dead universe. And who are they most alike?
Carol and Daryl.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm so drawn to this dynamic.
But they have the luxury of meeting each other. They're soon after, and it's not the apocalypse, so we have a little time. But one of the things we said about Carol and Dell is that sometimes, and maybe this is just the way I feel, it's subjective, whatever you feel differently, that's fine. So much time has passed, and you see the goods on each other, and you know each other's past, that's fine. But so much, you smell each other's farts, and you're kind of like, this is kind of like a sister-brother relationship.
Ew,
not really
David.
But they do. They probably fart in front of you. It's fine. It's okay. They're friends. It's their thing. They don't have to share with everybody.
And the thing is,
farts, they smell.
We go back to the needing of love and attention, right?
And acceptance.
And they get the love that they need, they get from each other. And it doesn't have to be sexual. It doesn't have to be romantic. The love is there. Maybe they need to realize that the love is there. They need to realize that they're loved. Mm-hmm. I don't think either one of them know that. They know that they're friends and they know that they care about each other, but maybe they just don't realize that she could be, but hey, he loves me. It's okay.
Obviously, the whole thing with Colin is purely physical because, that's definitely not going anywhere.
He killed their family. I think it's over.
They never was going to.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was predicated on a lie. Or, you know, like we said about
I feel like there's more to that.
to Colin and he, or
Yeah.
To the murder.
Like, well, maybe not necessarily the relationship between them, but the story behind Colin's family. We already knew Frenchie's past, but they're bringing up a specific moment in his past where he was killing, you know what I mean? Why this family? Why are they bringing this up? I feel like there's going to be more
they brought this
to
up
that.
in the second or third season when they brought in the smoking mafia lady from Brighton Beach.
Oh,
Yes,
right.
which was the
Right.
which was the explanation for his
But what I
past.
get what you're saying, Rachel. Why would they bring this into the story if there's not a reason behind it?
Exactly. Yes. I feel like there's going to be more to Colin and his family and this whole storyline.
So I'm totally sexist because when he said that he killed the judge and then they showed the picture, I automatically thought that the dad was the judge. So when it was pointed out that the mom was actually the judge, I felt really bad about it.
Again, we're so eager to point out our flaws.
Felt really bad about it.
Thank you, Rachel, for saying the thing that we were all thinking about. Well, didn't they, what? Aren't they mon coeur? Aren't they the thing? Aren't they supposed to be? What, didn't we get somewhere?
They're the thing.
Finally, there's something so relatable about these two characters in that when we look at the Walking Dead universe, we say the Walking Dead universe allows you to become the person you were meant to be. And sometimes that means getting to reinvent yourself. You don't look at the past. That's dead. That's who I was, not who I am. We know Merle is and was and continue to be kind of racist. And then even Daryl kind of was like that a little bit until he softened. And now look at Frenchie and Kimiko. What if, okay, you got to reinvent yourself. Say he's not the dog anymore. You know, he's the Frenchie that we know from season 1 is not the dog on the leash. He's the reinvented Frenchie. Kimiko becomes the reinvented version of herself as a result of being with Frenchie, right? But what if the one thing that you were trying to get away from, that you were confronted with by the other person, the one person that you're so afraid of judging you, like you said, Sharon D., the one person that has accepted you thus far unconditionally, no matter what you've done. What if they were actually confronted with that thing? And they're thinking in their head, what if they just loved me? We loved each other because they didn't know the horrible thing that they did. Colin is merely a reflection of that. It's a backboard, like in basketball, for that, right? When the actual thing is the hoop, is them. What if you were confronted by the worst thing that you've ever done? Would you still love me? That's scary when you're that deep in your feelings. I think that's why they never went for each other. That's why they never really completed that circle. That's why they said that's never going to happen. I think
the worst thing Frenchie ever did was hooking up with Colin after he killed his family. Because he's killed lots of families. I mean, killing the family wasn't the worst thing he's ever done. Hooking up with Colin afterwards, that was the terrible thing.
Would you say that would be compound D? They could have gone on like ships in the night, right? And it still would have been bad that they were even in contact, that he existed in the world as his family's killer. So, sorry, I explained the joke.
And which made it not funny anymore.
Just like this show. This show can sometimes really literally beat it into you, like meat.
I
also think
I hate myself. It's fine. I'll be the villain.
I also think there's a side to Frenchie that I don't really know how to phrase it any other way. So I'm just going to say, like, he needs to be on a leash, somebody's leash. I feel like he's almost spiraling a clear direction.
Who does that remind you of? All over the place. The Soups, mostly Homelander.
Oh, well, yeah. But his is more like internalized. He's not like running out lasering off D's or anything. You know what I mean? He doesn't really have a direction. And you know, MM's trying to give this whole entire group a direction, but he's even kind of doesn't really have things under control.
You're starting to see it because his whole thing is order. It's OCD. Everything has to be in its place.
I know, but it's like, he's like, he can't hold on to things.
You see the OCD, he's tapping the OCD book, flipping through it.
Yeah.
In between scenes as people F off everywhere. It's like Kimiko leaves the office all of a sudden.
They both flip him off on the way
and so
out.
you draw a very good point, by the way, which is something that I had not even thought of at all. First of all, not pay attention to MM so far, 4 episodes in.
I almost thought it was a different actor because he has lost weight. He lost all the facial hair. I'm like, is this the same guy?
And if you're paying attention, by the way, within the same episode, sometimes the facial hair
hair is different.
changes.
Yes, it does. from scene to scene. It's really annoying.
I think it's
distracting.
I think it's
very
intentional.
distracting.
I think it's intentional.
I don't.
Oh no, I really do think it's intentional. They're like, what if some people know the difference? You want to know how stupid this show is sometimes? I don't know about stupid, or like trying to make fun of the people who really look too deeply into the show. From the very first scene in the fourth episode, they're showing like bulletin boards full of writing, and some of them you can read, but if you start reading some of the other things, none of the sentences make sense. It's like words from a dream.
Cherry, banana, apple, grape.
It's not even a bunch of nouns together. It's making fun of what we do on Fear the Walking Dead.
Go ahead, zoom in on that chalkboard. I dare you.
And it actually, but see, in Fear the Walking Dead, it actually has words that I can read that people thought of to actually write.
Fallout in their dry erase boards.
Exactly. Well, that makes sense. That actually has meaning.
No, I know.
But it's as if this show is making fun of you. Like, oh, you think you're going to get something out of it? What are you, dumb? This show is not that complicated. It's like, here it is. It's in your face.
Yeah, a lot of it is very much on the surface. Like,
right.
Here it is.
Yeah,
Eat it
there's
up.
a couple layers, but it's not that deep. You're getting it.
Super
you
deep.
totally understand the
It's
show.
not super the
It's
deep.
not the deep.
Deep thoughts with the deep. Those promos
Oh
are
my
something
god,
else.
those are
by
so
the way.
funny. Okay, so soup names for the soups that they were considering to go on the 7.
Oh, did you recognize one of them?
Yeah, of course.
I know David did.
Which,
What's his name? The dude.
Justin was the character. Zach
McGowan.
McGowan. Yep, that's what
his
it is.
name.
Zach McGowan.
Was
yep.
the dog
Dognut.
Dognut?
Yeah. He's the one that ate out a
That
dog.
cracked
He's the one
me
who ate a
up.
dog.
He ate a dog. He ate out a dog.
Big
There's a difference.
Big difference.
He was on
It's
The
a
Walking
big
Dead.
difference, Sharon. Dude.
Yeah, he was on The Walking
It
Dead.
actually is.
I have
hit him over the head
Dognut. I
with a
have
frying
Dognut
pan.
written down as one of my
From The
notes
Walking
because
Dead,
that was
yes.
so
Season
funny.
9.
That is the worst name for a soup ever.
It is, though, isn't it?
Was it
Dognut?
Naught?
No, it was Knott. This show is crazy.
Talk about being on a PETA watch list. Ooh. It's funny how I went from talking about how some of these words don't make sense, but the second that I actually watched the stats on some of these people, first of all, I didn't have time. But the second I started, I'm like, okay, these aren't powers. Flame retardant hair? What is it? What is going on here? But it goes to show that a lot of this is just image, right? It's all about, well, she looks gorgeous, but she has no real powers.
They're scraping the bottom of the barrel for people to be
after Godolkin, right?
Well, see, Rachel, you didn't. Yeah, it's Gen V.
Rachel.
Okay.
You really should.
You should.
It's a fast watch.
It is.
I think it's 6 episodes only.
It's 8, and I binged all 8 of them in like one day.
Oh.
It brings over a lot of characters.
Where's it at?
It's on Prime. Yeah. Ashley's in it. The Deep, Homelander.
At the end. Thank you for saving my life, sir.
Right. At
Godolkin.
Godolkin. And they've mentioned the people from Gen V on the show a couple of times, the boys a couple of times. They've mentioned Sam and Kate.
Remember when you got ejected? Okay. I was talking about the commercial, and it calls back the picture that Butcher sent Vicky Newman with his butthole, right? Because they were saying, and the Godolkin floor disappeared down a dark, gaping hole, and then it cuts out.
Oh my God.
It's just so funny.
Who was it that also said that somebody pooped the bed? It's in the first episode, I think. But it was a reference to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Yeah, it was a very quick little throwaway line somewhere in the beginning.
There's a lot of that in the show. Oh, you know what? That man plans and God laughs, first of all. Second, we all had the same thought of doing character-focused breakdowns, just go character by character. It's hard not to go to each other characters, but we wanted to stay ahead of these episode releases, so we really, really were trying to cram in the first 4 episodes to get an overall take while catching you up and getting a feel for these characters as we go. And I'm hoping with the 5th episode, I think we're all feeling this, that we'll have a little bit more time to break down the nuances of that particular episode as we go forward. But
don't forget that we're also covering House of the Dragon at the same time, so that also puts a crimp in our time watching.
True. With all that being said, I'm hoping that, yes, please excuse this episode. It's not going to be the best example of what we can give you. I thought we did pretty good job of doing what we do and doing it for 4 episodes. But we're hoping that we can actually dive a lot deeper into the 5th episode next week. I do want to make that very clear. This is not typical for what we do, especially for the first episode that we're covering of the series.
Go watch our House of the Dragon coverage, and you'll see why we had to cram 4 episodes into this.
We had watched episodes 1 through 3 until today. I don't know if I said this to you, but I was excited to say this until episode 4 for some reason, because I saw A-Train and I thought differently. I was thinking, oh, Ashley could be the thing that decides to turn against Vought because she has so much information against it, right?
She sure does. They
And
made
then-
a point to show us all the binders and the folders and the papers and that's a lot of information in her hands.
Right, but the idea that A-Train starts this show as the first example of how bad a soup is, and then the thought of him being the very hero that he didn't think he could be, or nobody on the show watching it thought he could be, is so much more compelling to me. Just
Maybe
like
they could
closing
work
the loop.
together.
Bad pairing.
Sometimes heroism is in the background, like him giving the information to clear the Starlighters. Didn't want credit for that because Homelander would have lasered him, but he was the hero in that situation.
He continues to become the hero, too. Getting the Compound V for his dad, he didn't have to. He even says, I was never going to get forgiveness, but he did it for himself. He felt indebted to Huey. It wasn't even about him, about what he did. And so that's why he did it. He felt like he wanted to put some good in the world where he had put bad. It was that gesture for some reason, that interaction with he and Huey, whatever's going on between them is so, the tension and the realizations, looking at each other differently than they did before, that's seriously really cool to watch. This is maybe like another Vought story. We all want to see people forgive one another because that innately, I think we want to feel like we can be forgiven. It's always about us at the end.
Well, it is. You want your audience to relate to the shows that you're putting out there. That's how they stay engaged because they see themselves on screen.
Right. Until that moment, I was like, oh, Ashley, she's going to turn it all around. But now I see A-Train. I'm like, oh, my gaze is on you now. It's just like, I love Colby to death and she's funny and her comic relief is top notch. I don't have too much faith in her as the unlikely hero, to be honest.
My ultimate goal for Ashley is to take some V and tear some stuff up. It's better to burn out than fade away.
I'm with you. I don't want that for her. Also, listen, she's already done so much to herself already. I just don't want her to go sink down. But then again, it would be on brand. She would just go nuts, do something.
Maybe the Compound V would give her hair power. Her hair would grow really long and it could like go out and like strangle people, like Stretch Armstrong, but with her hair.
I'm thinking armpit hair, though.
Ew.
No.
Nose hair.
Yeah.
Ironically,
it wouldn't be your head.
Nose hair.
No, it'd be all the hair.
Even better.
On her
Charity.
head
Nicely
and her
done.
arms.
Ew, all the hair.
No, she said nose hair. I'm with that. Thank you again for bearing with us. And if you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Just remember to tell us after every episode, even if it's not to your liking, sir or madam.
Leave us an octopus emoji.
Be creative. You don't even have to leave us a spiel. Just leave us something. And if you really like what we're doing and you want to join in on the fun in the chat, you're free to be able to do so. But the only way you're going to get our recording schedule is by heading to either Ko-fi or Patreon. That's ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. And if you're really interested in helping us out and growing this channel and making it so that we can stay afloat and not deep into debt, you can at least please tip us for 30 days access to our supported back content on Ko-fi, which will give you access to the unedited episode recordings, or you can join a membership tier on either Patreon or Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. Either tipping on Ko-fi or joining a membership tier for as little as $1 a month will give you access to our Discord, where we can go even further behind the scenes and have behind the scenes discussions. And if you decide to join the Whispers or Survivors tiers, well, the Whispers will get you acknowledgements at the end of the show, which may be on the screen right now or will be at the end of the episode when the audio podcast is finished. And you can also get 50% off in the merch store, the ability to show your face and or mic on our Jackbox Games live streams, or when you join the Survivors tier, you get all that plus the ability with your face and mouth and head to join us on these episode breakdowns alongside us, lending us your insights to these episodes along with us. That being said, I've been your host, David Cameo, my alter ego as Queen Dave, and Cosmom09 Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and that's it, because it's just us three. It's the rise of the three and the fall of the three at the end of this episode. Please join us next week, where we will dive a little bit further into episode 5 of 10. We're already halfway through with the next episode.
Dave's like, thank goodness.
Season.
Thank goodness we did 4 episodes.
In a way, we
one.
knocked out 4. Jeez Louise. You're also thinking it in a way. So as much as you enjoy talking about it, we're going to go right now. We'll see you very soon for our coverage of both Game of Thrones and The Boys.
House of the Dragon.
Bye, everybody.
Or yeah, House of the Dragon and The Boys. This again, Night Terror.
House of the Boys.
Bye.
House of the Boys and the Dragon.
House of the Boys and Yeah, the dragon, right? What can you do with that? The Squawking
Oh my
Boys,
gosh.
that's our logo right now. Jeez
Summer
Louise.
after dark.
Exactly. Bye, everybody. We'll see
Bye,
you soon.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to our first episode coverage of The Boys, kicking it off with a bang with a super mega episode covering the first 4 episodes of season 4. I'm not going through the episode titles. A, they're long. B, there's too many. But that being said, it makes me really happy that you guys stuck around to the end to listen to this. We're branching out. We're doing our best to push out more content relating to the things you most likely are watching right now, lending you our thoughts. And like I said, you could lend your thoughts during our episode recordings if you follow us for free on Ko-fi or Patreon. It's free to attend these recording sessions, but the only place you can get them is on those platforms. It also gives you a little behind-the-scenes look into what we're doing, and if you happen to tip us or join a membership tier, you'll have access to our Discord where we have probably far too many conversations on the subject. And like I said earlier, if you happen to join either the Survivors or Whisperers tier, you'll get shout-outs at the end of these episodes like these folks are getting. Starting with the Survivors tier, we've got @RealRyanGM on X and Instagram. We've also got Randy @Snick3 on Instagram. Moving on to our Whispers tier members, we've got @Judith.Morton on Instagram. On Facebook, we've got @Sandy.D.Morrison, @Lois.Martin.54, and @Kim.Rowley, the number 1. On X, we've got @IFoundThemRickG. And of course, we've got Aiden Atkin, who you can reach on ko-fi.com/AidenAtkin. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to listen to this episode. I know it's not the Walking Dead universe, but we'll find ways to sneak what we love about that show onto other shows because it's kind of where we started from. It's where a lot of our references come from. It touches on a lot of things because at the end of the day, it's a show about humans and human frailties, and that touches every show we end up watching anyway. Can't wait to talk about the next one, and in the meantime, we are Squawking Dead.